We're good. Welcome to our new a new home for the next couple of hours. Anyway, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the New York City Transit Committee meeting. Let's start with the public safety announcements, please.
Your safety is of the foremost importance to the MTA. Therefore, we ask that you listen and adhere to the following instructions. If you witness an emergency, notify emergency personnel in the room and call 911 immediately. Please follow any audible instructions provided through the public address system or visually on screens in the event of an emergency. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell B down the hallway past the elevators. If you have a mobility disability or cannot self-evacuate, please proceed to stairwell D or E for assistance by MTA staff or emergency personnel. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is in the main hallway just past the elevators. If you need assistance during an evacuation, please tell an MTA staff member or emergency personnel. Thank you and have a safe day.
Thank you. And we'll now move to our public speakers.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Booter. I'm Director of Government Community Relations for Metro North. I'll be helping with moderating today. This morning we have 12 speakers of the public pre-registered to speak. I'd like to remind all of our speakers to abide by our rules of conduct, not to make personal attacks on anyone else, as well to be respectful of other speakers and remain within their allotted time of 2 minutes. Our first speaker will be Christopher D. Greif, followed by Jesse Figueroa.
Good morning. I'm Christopher D. Greif, advocate for persons with disability. First, I want to congratulate our president, which I can't see him this second, but congratulations, Mr. President Demetrius. It's so great to see you as the president. Finally, I don't have to say the word acting anymore. I'm here today to make clear that the MTA, and first I want to thank our MTA and the posters that we see outside. We always need to make sure that our future must still continuing. We need to make sure that our subways, our buses, our accessorized are fully accessible. And our elected officials need to understand, doesn't matter which party they're from, we need to remind them today and now the next year that we need the full funding and making sure the capital goes through and the congestion pricing as well. Also, I want to thank our NYPD, who has always been at stations. If we see something, say something. Regarding all these fare invasions, trying to sneak off and doesn't show respect to seniors, I am so glad to see our NYPDs are getting these people saying, you didn't pay, you get the fine. We still need to make sure we work together, and let's move forward as strongly we are. Accessibility is a very important thing to everyone, and it's important to me and the late Edith Prentice, as I want to make that clear, because Edith always says to continue advocating for seniors, people with disabilities, and our veterans today, and let's move forward as I wear this button to make it clear for the MTA capital projects. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Jesse Figueroa, followed by William Martin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jesse Figueroa. I am a U.S. Army veteran with a disability. Before I get started, I want to say congratulations to you, Mr. President, as New York City Transit's new president. Most importantly, I am in full support of the capital plan for 2025 to 2029. As a veteran, we need to make sure that our stations are fully accessible, which means larger elevators, wider ramps, LED lighting, and signage enlargement. We also need to make sure our subways, railroads, buses, and accessoride are updated. As a veteran, it is important that our elected officials support the capital program plan, for 2025 to 2029 and congestion pricing. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker will be William Martin, followed by David Kuffenberg.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to first and foremost take this time out to thank the committee for giving folks this opportunity to bring anything to their attention. I just wanted to take this time out to bring to your attention, there's been an issue with the evening rush hour service on the X28, the Brooklyn Brown X28 from Manhattan to Brooklyn. I bring this up because I tend to get the bus at the Broadway Waverly Place stop. I'm usually get there at 6:05, and more often than not, I'm not getting a bus until around 6:45 or 7 o'clock. And then you consistently see that buses are canceled, but then buses are taken off from the Thomas Street, Broadway Thomas Street. And then from there, by the time you get down there, you still see multiple Ulmer Park buses not in service with a dispatcher there as well. And I was just curious, is like maybe if possible, if there's additional buses at Broadway and Thomas, if maybe some of those buses could then go up to 23rd Street and start the route, and you don't have a situation where passengers are stranded for quite some time. I understand, the MTA does work hard, and we do appreciate the service that we're getting, but at the same time, it's just like 40 minutes during rush hour, I feel might be a little bit much to wait for a bus. I don't even wait that long usually when I get the buses on weekends. I'm not saying if I get to the bus stop at 6:05 that I should get a bus right away. I totally understand that, but if I leave at 5, if I leave work at 5 or 7, I usually get a bus within 10 or 15 minutes. I thank you for your time this morning. I just wanted to bring this issue to your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is David Kuffenberg, followed by Jason Anthony.
David Kupferberg, Vice President of Bus Advocacy, Passengers United. So Demetrius Critchlow is finally officially NYCT president. I'm not impressed. He has little respect for the union rank and file. I guess that only time will tell. As the Queens bus network redesign must include input throughout the borough before the redesign is implemented, including a Bell Boulevard, Springfield Boulevard route, and a limited stop route that connects the Rockaways with the Long Island Jewish Medical Center. As that Manhattans will start soon, I am sharing with the committee preliminary ideas that are been set aside. For Southern Manhattan, I recommend changes that would include the expansion of service via Greenwich Street, a thoroughfare that has not had local surface transit since the 10th Avenue trolley was discontinued in 1935. And of course, no rapid transit service since the 9th Avenue elevator was discontinued south of the 155th Street station in 1940. But the Bronx bus network redesign would not actually be complete until the BX6 SBS is diverted from Hunts Point to Soundview. Nonetheless, I still think that the BX46 suffers from poor ridership because transferring the Longwood neighborhood is cumbersome. The BX46's western turnaround loop should be adjusted to accommodate such riders. After all, the goal is to decrease passenger travel time. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Maddie Bucky's Highland.
Good happy Monday morning, everybody. Jason Anthony here. I would love to congratulate our beloved New York City Transit President, Demetrius Critchlow, that finally, after 27 years as a transit employee, he is the permanent New York City Transit President. As a person who knows Demetrius Critchlow personally, this couldn't come any sooner than this. He is a person who came from the bottom up, and I'm prouder that he got it. As a Bronxer myself, today's Game 3. Let's go Yankees. regarding accessibility in the 2025 and 2029 capital plan, we should remind every single elected official, not only in downstate but also upstate, to support the capital plan because everything is at stake. Not only larger elevators, wider ramps, in other words, everything, LED lighting, etc. And yesterday, we had an amazing event, rally at Madison Square Garden. I want to thank Michael Kemper and his team and Chief Mueller because they were amazing, like always. So that's all I have to say for this month. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Maddie's Bucky Highland, followed by Gina Perdulia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bader, and happy Monday, everybody. I'm Maddie W. Bucky's Highland. Today, I want to speak about the capital plan for 2025 for the year ending in 2029. While I do support the plan of having more accessible, even my home station battle on being 100% accessible, I am a little disappointed that the Staten Island Railway, which runs from St. George to Tottenville, will not connect to the Arthur Kill to either Perth Amboy or South Amboy in Middlesex County, New Jersey, as I long advocate for that, because the Outer Bridge Crossing, which is a bridge operated by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, costs $13.38 with an off-peak Easy Pass. And if you don't, you have to pay $17.63. Not to mention that the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey could raise the toll again come December. But as I will say this, I want to I will also want to welcome Demetrius Christilo as being a permanent president of this, who started from the bottom, worked his way through the top, and that is appreciated. So, Demetrius, I hope you will do good in your job as well. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Butter.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Gianna Peruola, followed by Lisa Daglian.
Hold on, folks. Hold on, sorry. Okay. All right, good morning, folks. My name is John Padula. I am from New York City Public Schools. I'm also a member of the Advisory Committee for Transit Accessibility. This month, October, is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And I wonder, can't help but to think, how many people, if they had to use traditional paratransit, how easily would they maintain their employment? Getting a job is one thing, maintaining it is another. And New York City life, I always joke about and talk about living my best blind life in New York City, but New York City is crazy for everyone. And maintaining a job in New York City is no joke. And the disability demographics for unemployment are grim. And we're celebrating, we're trying to recognize that and draw attention to it and raise awareness. These are great things. And capital plan, a lot of great things are happening there. And of course, we need funding for that. But Accessoride, paratransit doesn't fall under that umbrella. And we need money for that too. And Accessoride, for years, was the red-headed stepchild of this municipality. And I know some bristle here when I talk about Accessoride and sometimes get a little strong with my language. But the truth is the truth, and the history is ugly, folks. And whether it's a 20-minute window or a 30-minute window, not realistic. And I don't know if our mayor or our governor, I don't know how many times a week they'd permit me to be 30 minutes late to work. So we have to put our money where our mouth is, and we have to truly invest in sustainable employment, because I don't think real deal working New Yorkers could sustain their employment. God forbid they were confronted with a disability if they had to use paratransit. And again, I want my kids to work. I want my kids to have a meaningful adult experience. My name is John Padula. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Lisa Daglian, followed by Andy Pollack.
Missing the podium. Good morning, I'm Lisa Daglian. I'm the Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. I am impressed. Congratulations, Demetrius, well deserved. Millions of us start and end our day the same way New Yorkers did 120 years ago, riding the subway. The thrumming pulse of the underground has kept our city running and growing since it opened in 1904. A lot has changed, but our reliance on a fully functional subway system has not. That proved out this morning. We may have largely moved on from using electric typewriters and telephone answering machines, both introduced at the World's Fair in 1904, but our use of and need for the subway's only grown. It remains the fastest way to get around town. Taking the subway helps fight climate change. It turns strangers into friends and has been the start to more than one beautiful future. The subway means different things to different people. To me, it means freedom, adventure, and opportunity. As a kid in the 70s, the subway was dark, mysterious, and edgy, and forbidden. That made it much more attractive to me. Learning to navigate the system is a rite of passage, learning how to get to far-flung reaches of the city, an adventure. I've seen the ups and downs, the good, the bad, from graffiti days and club kid nights to shiny new train cars that stretch endlessly. The subway allows us the opportunity to live and love where we want, go to schools that best suit us, and land jobs to improve our worlds. Simply, New York would not be New York without it. Now it's up to us to make sure the subway and the entire system is there for future generations. That is impossible without a fully funded capital plan, and that isn't possible without congestion pricing. Happy 120th birthday, New York City subways.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Andy Pollack, followed by Murray Bowden.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to the new president of New York City Transit. I'm Andy Pollack from Passengers United. So let's do a quick subway safety report for this month. First up, two notable incidents. Last month, we had a subway passenger assaulted by a skateboard at the Forest Hills 71st Avenue station. Then, on October 8th, a teenager was just minding his own business riding the M train at Seneca Avenue, and he was assaulted. So let's just make sure that this is placed on the record. Now, on to subway surfing. As of today, we are up to 6 fatalities relating to subway surfing. And I want to mention that we've had 3 incidents in the past week. We had an incident in the Bronx last week on the 205 line. We had a 13-year-old killed in Queens on the M line. And just last night, one teenage girl died at 111th Street. So again, let's make sure we're on the record here. 6 people have died subway surfing this calendar year so far. And yes, I've been hearing the announcements on the 7 train from that girl that says, oh, this is not Coney Island. You know, what you guys are doing are just creating a domino effect of actually encouraging this behavior. And I want to quickly mention one unrelated note. The R160s last week on the Queens Boulevard line, the air conditioning wasn't working. So make sure that's working when it gets to 80 degrees on Thursday. And the subway announcements on the 7 line, I got complaints last night when people were trying to figure out where to go during the suspension. They were inaudible on the R188 cars. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for letting me speak this month.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Murray Bowden, followed by Yolanda Elena.
If you want people to change, then you have to demonstrate change at the top. We just watched the speaker, and at the bottom of this thing was his words being written for those people who have a hearing problem. I have a problem. I'm on the road to dementia. It's been diagnosed. I talk about it, and I compensate for it. And if I can't remember somebody and I have to ask you who you are, I'll do that. This board is responsible for the implementation of the rules as currently written. New York City is not following the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which permits more intelligent, safer traffic. I'm willing to sit down with your traffic consultant and show them where you're not using the best technology to make the buses run faster, and inform people. Today you need to deal with the aggressive drivers. You have to enforce the law to separate the traffic earlier. And if those of you who are willing to look at your iPhones instead of listen to me, maybe you ought to get off the board. You know who I'm talking to, you guys who are find that your email is more important than we're public comment. We're telling you things that you need to know, and you may not get somewhere else. It's your responsibility of the board to see that the law is followed. They changed the manual. You can make traffic run faster, safer, and every time you save money, an accident, it goes right across. I'm sorry I can't get my words out faster. It's the way it is. But it's this board's responsibility. Andy, stop looking at your phone. I'm here to give you information, and you find your phone. If
Please
you have
conclude
to
your
talk to
remarks.
somebody else, get up and go somewhere else.
Please conclude your remarks. Thank you. Our next to last speaker is Yolanda Aline, followed by Alita Dupree.
Good morning. Congratulations, Demetrius. I'm here to speak about those blue and white vans that don't have shocks. People like me that have back issues and you don't have shocks on the thing. And New York City is not the best streets you can find. It hit every bump, every pothole, and you keep flying up and down even though you're strapped in. So they need to get those blue and white vans, or the yellow ones and the blue, to have some shocks. It's impossible for someone to be sitting and be bumping and flying all over the place because these vehicles don't have shocks. Buses have shocks. Even the subways, if they needed shock, they'll find shock. So why can't they do the same thing with the blue and white vans? And the Atlantic Avenue station on the L line is filthy. The handrails is all bird poop, and people with disability and seniors don't have handles to hold on to. And it's 37, which need elevators also. It's impossible for people to get around New York City without elevators. And when you do have handrails, it's full of pigeon poop. You know, we need to get that sorted out because it's been happening quite some time. And it's definitely not right for someone that has disability that needs to hold on to the handrail, don't have handrails to hold on. Congratulations once again. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our final speaker is Alita Dupree.
Thank you. Good morning to the chair. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds. Going to talk about the basics today. First of all, I'm very happy that we have a permanent president of transit in Demetrius, who I've been fortunate to have met several times. I'm going to focus mostly on the report. Looks like our ridership on the subway is doing very well, and about 1.1 billion year to date. So if we keep that pace up, I think we may hit 1.5 billion users of the subway by the end of the year. So it looks like we're about in the 70s compared to pre-pandemic riderships. We want to help people to get back into the subway. And it looks like we're doing okay with electricity. Varies month to month. I certainly think we can save more money by electricity. By buying renewable electricity, I think we should buy power in our own name and have our own trading department so we can buy renewable electricity at the best prices possible. It takes a lot of money to run a subway. It takes a lot of people to run a subway. And we have vacancies, which means we can go out and find the best and brightest to help us run our subway. And I've been using the subway since 1970, and I am a native of Queens, Bayside in particular. That's very important, and accessibility, especially because I'm a disabled veteran, and I want us to have more accessibility on our subway by building more accessible stations, because you never know when you might need that. But I believe in this idea. You can never have enough subway. The system that is legendary and stately. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for your remarks. That concludes our public comment.
Thank you, everyone. Before we get on with the business of the Transit Committee, I just wanted to, on behalf of the New York City MTA Transit Committee, congratulate Demetrius for becoming the 12th president of the Transit Authority. Exciting. Also want to welcome Chief Joe Galata for becoming chief of the NYCT. Thank you, Chief. And for Michael Kempler for joining us and becoming Chief Safety Officer. So welcome, gentlemen. Looking forward to working with all of you to make our system the greatest it is. Okay, so we're now going to start off with our business. Can I take a motion? Can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the September 2024 meeting? David, second. Dan, we don't have a quorum, so we're not going to take a vote. They tell me, still no quorum. All right, we're going to move on. Demetrius, any changes to the safety plan?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Can you start us off with the President's report, Mr. President?
Sure. As Hader mentioned, thank you, Hader. Starting here as the 12th president of New York City Transit is an amazing opportunity. To be here cements a legacy for my family, my father, my grandfather, having worked in the shoes of many of the frontline employees, seeing their plight, sometimes standing next to them, crying with them. I've seen and experienced life with them. And so, it was really amazing for me the last several days to be able to get support, text messages, calls, emails from employees, from literally people that I started 27 years ago, to express their appreciation and their support. You just never know how you're going to touch someone or how they will touch you. And so life is funny like that. I'm grateful to be here, grateful to be able to really have an impact on this organization. It's an honor to be here. A lot of things to talk about today. We'll talk a little bit about Staten Island. Staten Island is in the midst of a huge change, ready to make the future. We debuted the R211S to Staten Islanders. Pretty exciting for them. They're finally going to get rid of a fleet of the R44 cars that are the oldest cars within the entire system. You just get an idea of how much work the team had to do just to keep those in service. But, really amazing and grateful for the work that Frank Farrell, who's the vice president of Staten Island, has put in to be able to maintain the cars that we currently have. I can tell you from working at Staten Island, I'm grateful for the team there. Know firsthand many of the folks and the efforts that they had to put in to maintain a fleet like that. Excited about that they will have the same experiences that we have now as we're rolling out the R211 on the A line currently and the open gangway on the C line. So I'm sure they'll have similar success. So just yesterday, we celebrated the 120th birthday of the subway system. October 27th of 1904, the IRT, first IRT train left the old City Hall station, and the rest was history. So the MTA is celebrating this milestone through the coming year, and we kicked off by partnering a couple different things. One was with Zabar's, Shanifa and her team did an amazing collaboration with them in the Upper West Side as Zabars themselves became 90 years. I talked a little bit about, about the inaugural ride on the train yesterday. I got an opportunity to ride out there with the team, and people were really excited about getting out there and riding. We rode up the West Side and back down to Lex, and it was thankfully it ran without any hiccups. For Zabars, there were so many things that these folks offered. So the Zabars is known for their bagel and schmear, which the team had to explain to me what that was. I'm going to just say it. I'm used to just getting bagel and cream cheese. It was great, and the black and white cookie to die for. Good stuff. Next up, we crossed a major milestone in our efforts to leverage planned work and upgrades in our stations. The stations team, led by Sheila Hudson and Jim Compton, and the maintenance work that was ran by Dave Solomon. They did the 100th renovation for the F line was at Roosevelt Island. We renamed it to the Revive to talk a little bit about what this is. We're not renewing stations. That there's a capital program that'll renew stations, but we're doing is trying to revive the system to what it was the time of the past. So looking forward to not just this as the milestone, but the next 100 that we knock in as well. Before I move on to the next portion, I have to mention the incident last night. Some of them mentioned in the public comments. Unfortunately, we had a deeply saddening incident of subway surfing on the 7 line in Queens. 2 young girls were subway surfing on a Manhattan-bound train outside of 111th Street in Corona when they fell between cars. One of the 2 tragically lost her life, and the other remains in critical condition. Having children that are teenagers and one that's preteen, I can't imagine what the family's going through right now to lose a child in this manner. This is no game. The consequences we've seen time and time again, and just have to implore parents, teachers, schools, anyone that friends, anyone that knows someone that is involving themselves, subway surfing, even thinking about it, to talk about the consequences. Like, that should be the first part of the discussion. This is no game. There's no reset at the end. There's no restart when a person falls. And sometimes we think of, like, I remember playing Nintendo, like, at the end of the game, you just restarted. That doesn't happen. So, we really want people to get the sense that this is a life or death matter. The consequences, there is no do-over. It's a joyride that ends with nothing but, and no joy at all. And families will continue to deal with it indefinitely. All right, so we'll go back to the committee presentation. We'll talk a little bit about a progress on how transit's doing on operating efficiencies. Just give it 1 second. I'm gonna get the Jeopardy music going. Doo, doo, doo. So I'll start chatting while it's being pulled up. We committed savings in 2023 of $65 million, which were achieved for 2023. For 2024, the commitment was a little more aggressive, say at $300 million. So I'm pleased to report that we are on track to meet this target. And these savings were critical as part of the historic plan which the governor and legislature to secure the MTA's fiscal future, funding our operations for coming years. You'll hear more about operating efficiencies in the November financial plan, but I just wanted to preview a few key areas where we've had some success. To yield efficiencies, we've leaned in on 4 strategies. We've harnessed technology and data to improve productivity. Just to give an example, on paratransit, this has resulted in a series of improvements that have elevated the customer experience and reduced costs. Sharing booking on my AAR app has reduced call volume while optimizing contact center call duration and has allowed for more customers to receive support faster. Together, these improvements have projected to save over $6 million annually. We've sharpened a management focus on cost drivers. The biggest one of these drivers is availability, which I'll discuss in a little more detail shortly. Another source of savings in this strategy is our telecom usage. By evaluating low usage devices and telecom lines to switch off, we anticipate saving over $2 million this year. And finally, we're smartly investing in capital improvements that yield operating savings. For example, we have made a huge progress in converting our subway system to LED lighting. That's both in cars, tunnels, and in stations. By upgrading our lighting, we expect to save more than $4 million in 2024 and even more savings to come as we continue to expand throughout the system. At the same time, we've created opportunities to give managers better visibility into their budgets. This allows critical leaders at transit, especially at the yards and depot level, to have more awareness and control over areas like overtime, which has yielded savings as well. An area that we've seen real progress is employee availability. It's no secret that our employee availability dropped during the pandemic, but it had actually been declining for years beforehand. As you can see, from 2012 to 2022, we lost 13 days of availability per average employee. 7 of those days can be attributed to an increase in workers' compensation, which increases in both the number of claims and their duration. Lagging employee availability means more missed trips and more overtime to cover for absences. It's bad for our customers and bad for our bottom line. So coming out of the pandemic, we made a concerted agreement to improve availability. We've done this through a range of different strategies. This includes incentives like rewarding and recognizing employees who show up to work, and strengthened oversight to protect the integrity of programs that are designed to offer paid leave to employees who need it. This approach has reduced the number of days lost to workers' compensation so far this year, while ensuring that employees have access to quality care and better support to return to work sooner. We've implemented tightened controls on waste, fraud, and abuse. This allows us to be generous to employees who need to utilize programs like family and medical leave or workers' compensation. By introducing a certified PPO, we can offer our employees better quality care and support with increased oversight. We've expanded employee recognition and employee engagement programs, rewarding members of the team who have positive attendance and making employees feel valued. We've upscaled our Aware and Care program to 9 bus depots, engaging employees whose attendance is slipping and providing support and solutions to reverse the trend. And we're looking to expand the initiative in the future with a pilot currently underway at the Department of Subways for train operators and conductors. These efforts are paying off. So from 2022, you can see, which is the baseline for our savings commitment, we've improved our availability by nearly 3 days. And for critical service delivery roles like train operators, bus operators, and conductors, we've seen an even bigger gain. This has allowed us to deliver more service to our customers, and crucially, it has yielded nearly $50 million in annualized savings. We will continue to push on our strategy to deliver the savings targets we committed to while continuing to provide the high quality of transit service that our city needs and deserves. Next, we'll hear from the mode chiefs on their monthly performance trends for September, starting with Mandeep Lally, the acting Senior Vice President at the Department of Subways.
Good morning, everyone. So, yeah. Quick highlights for subways in September. Subways saw promising improvements in performance on the C, 7, and R lines, which is dedicated to the work that the staff have been doing incrementally. Specifically, the 7 clocked up 93.9% on-time performance, closely followed by the L on 92.5%, demonstrating the great operational flexibility and nuances that CBTC provides us, or once fully embedded and working. The A and C D lines saw big improvements on the weekend. Again, goes down to the diligent planning that goes on during the week for all the weekend works, not only the service but also providing the capital upgrade on time, which was very positive. And also on the weekend, we saw the highest on-time weekend performance we've had since 2024. So again, very, very positive in 86.2%. As this, on top of all the ridership that continues to grow, which saw record numbers in the fall of September in excess of 4 million, and looking at October being higher than that, so that's very positive. And finally, we yesterday, as mentioned by the President, was the 120th celebratory train ride, which was a joyous occasion with a lot of joyous customers on there, which there's a nice picture there just celebrating our history and the rich value that MTA provides New York and its customers daily. Thank you.
Good morning. Before I start, just on behalf of the Department of Buses, Demetrius, we want to congratulate you. You know, this is truly, it's an historic and amazing achievement. We're really looking forward to, rolling up the proverbial sleeves and getting things done and, advancing this place under your leadership. Thanks. So on to buses. So September, despite facing the gauntlet of seasonal challenges from school starting, school reopening, a much longer than usual UN General Assembly, higher security resulting from the upcoming elections, and overly active protest activity, we were able to provide 94.6% service delivery, a 0.6% uptick from August, and on par with September of 2023. Unfortunately, these aforementioned challenges also reduce speeds, resulting in increased customer journey time for our customers. Preliminary average weekly paid ridership for September is 1.47 million, which is 26% higher than August and is 6% higher than September of 2023. In fact, September had the highest paid riderships since May of 2023 and was the first month in a year and a half that paid ridership increased compared to the previous year. Operator absences since June have been 5% lower than 2023, and September absences were down 6% from last year. This week, we're excited to roll out our attendance awards. We plan to give out over 2,900 awards to our operators and maintenance employees with perfect or exemplary attendance. They are truly the backbone to this operation. That concludes my update. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. In the month of September, paratransit saw many similar challenges to the challenges that Frank mentioned for buses on the road. September often brings a dip in the on-time performance for paratransit as well, and this year was particularly challenging with the longer UN General Assembly and other conditions on the road, which extended, across Manhattan and even into Queens and Brooklyn on many of our service days. It's worth noting that we were also coming off a summer of historically high performance indicators for our paratransit service, so that even with this modest dip that you see in our September OTP, we're still above our 2023 levels on all of our key performance indicators, which is very encouraging. And even with these challenging conditions on the road, our dedicated carriers completed over 90% of their trips in the 30-minute on-time performance window, and our non-dedicated or broker service completed 97% of pickups in 30 minutes and 93% of trips within our tighter 20-minute on-time performance window. That performance by the brokers marks a notable improvement from 2023, and we're particularly encouraged as this service continues to grow and mature that they're consistently delivering such strong performance. All of the stats this year also need to be taken, of course, in the context of our continued record ridership. Again, similar to the story with subways and buses, we continue to exceed our pre-COVID levels on the paratransit side. We again served more than 1 million total riders in the month of September and topped 800,000 completed trips. We look forward at paratransit to continuing to serve this new normal of 35,000 weekday trips, using all the tools we have to maintain these positive performance trends. And to conclude, I'd be remiss if I didn't also extend congratulations and thanks and excitement to you, Demetrius. We look forward to continuing to work together to deliver the success. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. And we're going to ask Chris to speak a little bit about the ridership that we've experienced as of late.
Sure. Thank you, President Critchlow. So as Mandeep hinted at earlier, the ridership on the subway has been growing extensively over the last couple months. September was the first month we've had a 4 million weekday average since the pandemic was onset. We also had a record high in October of nearly 4.4 million a couple weeks ago. Some of the biggest growth has been on Mondays and Fridays, actually, which has been great to see, mostly due to midday and late night travel. And New Yorkers are showing that they enjoy going out, with Friday nights being the biggest driver of biggest percentage growth year over year at 10% right now in the 9 to 11 p.m. hour. So it's really good to see people are out and about on seemingly discretionary trips as we see ridership bouncing back closer. Still a ways to go, but it's good to see it over 4 million now on the subway. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Any questions for the team? Andrew.
I've asked this before, but being that we just had another tragedy on the 7 line at 111th Street, is there any way of putting sensors on the roof so that a conductor or the motor or the driver engineer would know that somebody was on the roof and could stop the service until somebody removes that person?
So we're in the process of a new car procurement now. I don't know if that's specifically being looked at, but I'll talk to the team about it. I think the real emphasis needs to be on the children themselves and changing these behaviors. It's unfortunate that we're at a point in time where we have to figure out how to stop children from getting on top of a train. That discussion, how do you stop them from going on the tracks? How do you stop them from doing other things that are just unsafe? But without question, a tragedy, and we definitely want to do our part in changing it.
Okay, obviously it's not an issue on the C, the E, or the R, which always remain underground, but all the other lines do come out at times.
Got it.
Dan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Mr. President. Congratulations again. We're looking forward to working with you in this new official capacity. My questions are all come out of the book on the performance metrics, and I have a few related to subway and maybe one related to bus. The first on subway delays. On page 8, it looks to me on the chart, which talks about the share of trains that arrived at terminal locations more than 5 minutes late, didn't operate, or skipped planned stops. Looks like the trend for that statistic is going up from the beginning of this year to present. And I wanted to see if you could share a little bit as to what's happening there, and also what our goal is for 2025.
So before I just wanted to comment. I mean, for mid last year, we peaked in terms of performance. So it was the best we had done in 10, 12 years worth of capturing data. So I think, you start with a place where you're at the peak. Now, our goal obviously would be to maintain that. But I think, there's a couple of different things, and Mandeep can speak to some of the efforts that we're doing to try to control the delays. But one thing that's clear is ridership is coming back. We've started to do a lot of work to be able to ramp up the capital program. So you have delays tied to that. And then just the peak periods and locations that we're seeing an increase with. But I'll defer to Mandeep for any further comments on our efforts.
Morning. Yes, so CJTP in terms of around 5 minutes within your schedule is what you're referring to. And what we've done is actually is broken the system down by bottlenecks and terminals. And then by that, looking at the throughput based upon the current schedules and the actual schedules, and looking at where we can make incremental accumulation improvements. So those have been systematically been worked through by the lines divisions with the signals teams in terms of the throughput, and Chris's team in operational planning. We've got a variety of trials in fruition right now to see how our little small changes are making a general small incremental change. So that, coupled with looking at the schedule, that looking at how we do access for the capital works, as I touched on earlier in terms of the improvement on the weekend on the OTP, it's all seeming to come together in small incremental steps. That's the improvement that you're mentioning, and it's coming through on the CJTP.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. So the numbers for the share of trains that are more than 5 minutes late, that number from the beginning of this year, even though there was a peak in the middle of last year, to the president's point, maybe due to better data capture. At the beginning of this year, we were at a level of about, just eyeballing this, around 15%, and now we're up to around 19%. I did not understand your explanation. Maybe and also if you could just speak up just a little bit more, I'm having a little trouble here.
Sorry, just to clarify. So I'll just allude to the trials we're going through. The percentage increase was the detailed data capturing that we're doing now in a more forensic manner. So you'll see a drop in some of our metrics in terms of operating environment, and we're now actually allocating to the actual delay. So those transfer of the actual data we're capturing is what is impacting upon the percentage increase.
So you attribute this to better data capture as opposed to worse performance. Is that correct?
More forensic data capturing with the PAU team and the C team, yes.
Okay. So I think we have to accept accountability for the increase in delays, right? We want to be able to run every train on time. That's our goal. We had a couple incidents at the beginning of the year that tank service, large incidents that had major impacts throughout the service. We had less than ideal performance for weather, which impacted, but we can get a more detailed response to the committee on the increase for the period of years, and then some of the things that we're going to do to look to improve upon it.
That's great. And is there a target? Obviously we would want the number to be zero, but as a practical matter, it's never been zero. So when we look forward to 2025, is there a target number that you think of, or you, Mandeep, think of as to what we should be striving toward?
Sure. So I'll say, when I first took over subways, my goal was to beat all of my predecessors, right? So Sally had the prior goal, and it was amazing to be able to top that. And then we lost some traction and kind of backslid. So I think the immediate goal would be able to get back to where we were before, but also able to sustain it. That's critical, just not getting there, but also being able to maintain it. And I think one of the things that Mandeep kind of spoke about is the more forensic look at is what are the individual instances that are causing delays, which gives us a little more control of the levers that we have to pull in order to keep it there. So the team is literally looking at station to station, what are the things that are impacting the commute from 14th Street to 42nd Street? What are the factors that cause the most impact during that period? And then the more data you have, the more concise you can be on targeting those things. So, you know, I don't remember offhand what the goal is for this year, but I would say my internal goal is to get back to where we were before, at a bare minimum.
Okay. All right. On buses, and I think you may have answered this question in your presentation, but I just want to make sure that I heard it right. So from August to September, we saw a pretty big jump in the average time that customers spend on the bus beyond the scheduled travel time. That's on page 11 of the report. And you noted a few factors that may be responsible here: UN General Assembly, protest activity, things like that. Is that the reason we saw such a jump from August to September in that metric?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's the people spent longer time during their trips because of slower buses. Buses being stuck in traffic, experience congestion due to all of the above.
Okay. I will just observe that number is higher than the number on the ATT, the average time customers spend on board a bus. It's higher than it has been since, well, I don't know when we started measuring it, but in this report it starts in October of 2021. So I don't know if there are particular circumstances.
So
here.
yeah, I mean, and really it's indicative of speeds, and actually the speeds this past September were actually even lower than pre-COVID. So we really took a hard hit this with all the above, with the congestion, with the protests, with the again, the UN General Assembly is typically 2 weeks. This year it was 3 weeks. That really ties up Manhattan, and you know, all roads. I jest, but all roads lead to Manhattan, so it's definitely a direct impact. But we are seeing some improvements in October.
Well,
Thankfully.
as the former city council member representing that neighborhood in Manhattan, I can attest to that for sure. And an extra week certainly would have a big impact. Okay, my last question here is comes out of page 14 on ridership, and there may be an obvious explanation for this that I have missed, but the measurement of the paid versus unpaid, we don't have a measurement for unpaid ridership starting in July of this year. And that clearly was a decision, and forgive me for not remembering if I was, part of this conversation here. But why don't we have that number anymore for unpaid ridership, starting in July for both subway and bus?
I don't have that answer for you, but I could certainly get it for you.
Julia's coming up. It's a quarterly update? It's a quarterly update. Right.
Okay.
It's
I'll say it into the mic. Quarterly update, we'll get that information, and those, the chart will be filled in then. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Demetrius, may I comment on one of the bus speeds issue? So great question. As Frank noted, the traffic congestion and all of the UNGA and everything else happening was really bad. I think this speaks to our need for more bus lanes, just straight up. That would be very, very helpful here.
Chris, I was thinking the same thing. I just wish it was Demetrius. Nobody wants them, but everybody needs them. But anyway. All right, any more questions? If not, we'll move on to Chief Galata, so you can give us an update. Welcome, Chief. Before we do that, we have
before the chief speaks, just want the public to know, public comment for the railroad has begun in room 1, so please make your way over there if you wish to testify.
Great. Okay, Chief, all yours.
Good morning, Chairman Holtis, President Chris Lowe, and members of the board. I am Joseph Galata, the new NYPT Chief of Transit, and I say that with tremendous pride. Over the past week, I've had the privilege of meeting members of the MTA leadership, including several who are in this room. Demetrius, tremendous congratulations. I really look forward to working with you and your team. I take on this new role with over 3 decades of police experience. My 2 most recent assignments saw me as the Staten Island Borough Commander and prior to that, leading the detective squads and investigative units in Brooklyn South. It was this assignment as the commanding officer of Detective Bureau Brooklyn South where I got to work hand in hand with a very good friend of mine. He was in charge of all parole operations at the time, and I think you might know who he is. He's sitting right next to me. He was a tremendous partner during my time there, and we did a lot of real close and great work together. Your new chief of security was one of the first people to call me when I was named chief of transit, congratulating me and providing insight into the long-standing cooperation between our two agencies. During my time as chief of Staten Island, my team had one singular goal in mind: the belief that law-abiding New Yorkers deserve a quality life that does not subject them to lawlessness or disorder or becoming the victim of a crime. That rings true whether you are on the South Shore of Staten Island or in the northern regions of the Bronx, and it really rings true in the city within a city, and that's our subway system. I intend to carry the same guiding principles of public safety in my new role as the Chief of Transit, because our riders and our transit system deserves nothing less. I completely understand how crime and safety extends beyond statistical figures, that a subway rider's perception of safety is just as, if not more important than a number on a CompStat sheet. In my assignments, I saw firsthand how vital the partnership between the NYPD and the MTA was. Time and time again, I saw investigative breakthroughs in cases where New Yorkers were victimized, breakthroughs achieved through footage from MTA's vast camera network. I am pleased to sit here today as the new Chief of Transit and thank you all for the decision-making that took place here and within the halls of the MTA in support of that important improvement and investment. Shifting gears for a moment, you have the latest crime figures in front of you, which shows subway system saw 167 crimes during the month of September, reflecting an 8.7% drop or 16 less crimes to be exact, when compared to the 183 crimes in September of last year. When looking at the current year through the end of September, the system saw 1,578 crimes, which reflects a 5.1% reduction or 84 less crimes when compared to 2023. As much as I like to take credit for this downward trend, it took place under my predecessor's leadership. Chief Kemper always says to me that the police officers in transit do an amazing job. And I've seen that firsthand in the short time I've been here. They're the reason why crime is on a downward trend in the transit system. And at this moment, they're the ones standing tall at the turnstiles, patrolling the platforms, and riding the rails. And they're the ones who stand ready to confront lawlessness head on behalf of our riders. And your officers have been hard at work. Proactive enforcement is an important component of our strategy, and your transit cops have been steadfast in that regard. So kudos to them. I hope to build upon the great work during my tenure as Chief of Transit. One last thing I'd like to address is the subway surfing. As a parent, it is very, very disheartening to see the tragedy day in and day out that we see that pops up with it, the lives that are affected in it. So we take it very seriously. We have a drone program that is on that J line, on that 7 line, where we predominantly see it. We're hitting social media hard. We're putting out videos with parents. We're showing the effects that this has on it. We're reaching out to DOE. We're working with the schools, working with City Hall, trying to get these social media platforms to not post these videos, because that is really the driving force of what's going on with subway surfing right now. It's driving it, it's what's behind it, and it's what's pushing us forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Questions, David?
Yeah, I'd like to draw your attention to page 18 and just ask some questions in the NYPD summons and arrest. Chief Kempner knows I have concerns about over-policing in very poor neighborhoods. But I'm also, nothing describes how many summonses and arrests take place on buses as opposed to the subways. I don't know if that figure is available. I'd like to see it. Also, at the very beginning of my tenure 10 years ago, we used to have the racial demographics included in this. It's no longer there. So in both cases, you know, I've looked at this. I'm very appreciative of what has been done in terms of increased enforcement for major crimes. I'm still concerned about the issues of summons and arrest that, at least in my tenure, seem to be over-concentrated on black and brown communities. So it's more, can we have a breakout that starts to get into this issue, particularly showing, because we're losing most of our money in fare evasion on buses, but nothing here reflects the new policing strategies for buses. So I raise that just as a general question.
This is my first week. I believe buses are going to be a very important part of what we do as well.
Okay.
Surface enforcement is definitely going to be part of it. We see a lot of incidents and crimes that do relate to the buses as well as the transit system. So that's all stuff we're going to be focused on going forward.
And next committee, we've already discussed the agenda item being just to talk about fare evasion and efforts, to give an update, because this committee hasn't got an update on
The
all
other
the
issue,
efforts.
I know there are discussions going on between the city and MTA on further expansion of fares to allow MTA personnel to actually sign people up for fares, not just episodically, but almost in every station available, because the numbers have sort of hovered around 350,000, 380,000, when theoretically the expansion should be much more dramatically higher.
So as usual, David, you are always ahead of the curve. You know, maybe Shanifa, if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick update, and then we'll have a more specific update at the next committee.
Great.
Yeah, so those, efforts are underway. We, every twice a month, we go out into the system with Demetrius and his team and do transit talk, where we do invite the Fairfares employees to come not only table but also sign people up. We are directing our customers to the customer service centers to get information and sign up, and we are close to embedding, a mechanism where our riders will be able to self-certify and register to sign up for fares, within our system. So that will be rolled out in the next month or two. So I will provide you with an update then. But we are doing, everything we can to promote fares, as well as, ID NYC and other qualifiers to let customers know that, there are different ways and tools that they should be signing up for fare, but just promoting the awareness of the program.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on with Demetrius's report.
Get the presentation filled up. All right, so, just talking a little bit about what we do at New York City Transit. The chief mentioned it in his opening remarks. Sometimes we start careers and it becomes a family business. It's more than just a job. It's a calling, it's a belief, it becomes a part of our fabric. And so we have an amazing team of over 47,000 employees who take a part in moving the best city in the world. And so we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing to the team, doing for the team in order to keep them motivated. Our core mission will be tied to safety and service. That is the only way possible to support and protect our employees. And that means prioritizing their safety, both at work sites and for our frontline personnel. It also means giving our employees the schedules, the tools, and the training to be able to deliver upon that excellent customer service. And it demands that we celebrate our employees whose work so often goes unheralded. It's interesting that when it wouldn't be uncommon for you to reach out to an employee and the first thing that they think is negative, because you interact with them when something bad is happening. And so we've made it a point of trying to point out the real good things that our employees are doing, acknowledging it, and broadcasting it so all can share in that and embrace that experience. We're also finding new and unique ways to engage our employees. I'm sorry. One of the things that we've done is focus on the employees' facilities. It's a place home away from home. You're going to spend a good portion of your day there, whether you use the restroom or you eat your lunch there. And some of the locations, be it in the subway system or out in different areas throughout the field, were years old, years without update. So we spent a good portion of time looking to make the places that our employees spend the time a place that they can spend time and enjoy it. So we have an ambitious effort to upgrade employee facilities in recent years, a big shift in the way that things used to be. Thus far in 2024, we've already upgraded more facilities than we did in 2021 and 2022 combined. So it is a commitment of ours to invest in our employees so that they can enjoy the time that they have here. We're also finding new and unique ways to engage with our employees. There's a reason that working at transit is so often passed down from generation to generation. Our teams move New York, and every employee takes immense pride in their work. To that end, it's been great to provide opportunities for our employees and their families to come together, to fellowship, and occasionally a little friendly competition. I had a blast visiting the bus rodeo in Orchard Beach last month. I even took part in the bus tug competition. I will tell you, first off, I think they cheated because I should have won. But it was really a great time, and seeing the spirit that this team had, the joy that they have, not only with each other as a team, but how they wanted to be so great at what they do, just as a foregleam of what they do when they're actually out in their jobs, out in customer service, and that same desire to be the best of the best.
Was Frank on the winning team?
Frank was not on the winning team, no.
Like you said, they cheated.
So I'm also excited to share that we're taking our monthly employee breakfast on the road. Bringing folks up to 2 Broadway is nice, but the reality is we really should be out there meeting folks at their homes. We get to break bread with them in their circumstances, in their surroundings, and to talk face-to-face about challenges that they have in the environment that they face. Sitting in an office environment and having that discussion just doesn't cut the mustard when it comes to employees. So we need to be out there. The management team needs to be front and center talking with employees. We had our first breakfast at Baisley Park Bus Depot in Queens last week, and looking forward to doing many more of those. I've also been a big believer in recognizing our employees. There is excellence in every pocket of the organization in ways big and small. For the Department of Subways, one of the real points of pride, we're finding new ways to recognize the team, from station agents who saw skyrocketing customer compliments after coming out of the booth to our collegial commendation program that empowered members of our team to recognize their peers for recognition rather than management. We can see what how our customers talk about our employees, and recognizing that is always a great thing to do. Like, we have one employee who has 50 plus commendations for his announcements. That speaks to his employees and how folks see him and the impact that he makes to the organization. But there are so many people that are doing a fantastic job, and we don't see it. There are hourly employees who lead teams, not as a supervisor, but they're viewed in that capacity. So we started a program to tell the coworkers, you tell me who that individual is, who that key stakeholder in the group is that is leading by example, setting a tone for the group, and having them tell us who we should be recognizing. It's a meaningful way to be able to address our employees. And we'll continue to do this as we move out, looking at employees who not only have perfect attendance, but also those who demonstrate excellence in safety and service. And one thing that I will say I love about the team is that they represent everything that makes New York special. Transit workers are friends, family, community leaders, but more importantly, they are our neighbors. It is people that move. It is people that move New York City Transit, not machines. And our I Move New York campaign reminds customers just that. Starting last week, you'll be able to see incredible employees from across the Department of Subways and buses and print ads, digital screens, and on social media. This is goes beyond, a person that just operates a piece of equipment, but focuses on their amazing work, the smiles that they have, the lives that they live beyond just this place, and showing that person has value, that person has a life which is important, and doesn't deserve to be spat on, assaulted. They should earn the respect that they come here and expect for this job. Lastly, we're steadfast in our commitment to keeping employees safe on the job. There's nothing more important. I know how much this matters. I've been on the front line with employees and worked in the field. Transit workers must be safe on their job. So recently, we've seen unacceptable instances of violence, including the stabbing of 4-line train operator Myron Polick. Myron had over 3 decades of transit service. He's a model employee, and he served with distinction. This assault, disgusting, senseless, outrageous. Both Jano and I visited Myron and his family in the hospital, and we have had their backs every step of the way. But we need the criminal justice system to do its part to ensure justice is done. To that end, I am pleased to introduce someone that was brought on specifically to look at this from the vantage point of what could we be doing at the MTA to make sure that we hold those others accountable. So Catherine Falaska, as our first ever criminal justice advocate. I don't know if she said, yeah. Catherine has a long career in criminal justice space. She most recently served as the director of the Strategic Initiatives Bureau of the New York City Police Department, where she worked to enhance prosecutions and ensure that the NYPD's investigations centered victims and were informed by the trauma experiences by survivors. Catherine's also worked in the Bronx District Attorney's Office. And in this specific new role, she will work closely with law enforcement agencies, prosecutorial agencies, and community-based organizations to ensure the strongest possible investigation and prosecution of those who commit crimes against MTA customers and employees. Catherine is with us this morning, and I want to personally express my appreciation and gratitude to her for being here and for her joining and the importance of the work here at the MTA.
Welcome, Catherine. Okay. Questions? David?
Yeah, I know we've taken efforts to protect bus drivers, I think in pilot. I'd like to know how far that's gone. Will all, bus drivers ultimately be protected? And have we also looked at potential barriers to protect our subway operators?
And Mr. Jones, yes. So regarding the pilot for the bus operator barriers, we're expanding the pilot. We're going to be installing through Q4 into 60 more buses, and we're going to put it through a 6-month additional testing, right? Engineer testing to be sure we have it right. But even better news is beginning with the 205 zero-emission buses that are being delivered next year, they will come with all of the full enclosures. So new buses moving forward, we're just going to get it right with these engineering here. We've worked closely we have a marvelous engineering team under Daniel Cardoza, but also with the TW and ATUs have been deeply involved in to get this right. So yeah, we're committed to this.
That's great news, Frank.
What about for subways? Have we thought of anything?
So, I'll start. Subways has always been a challenge. One of the things that we did initially was start a joint task force of management, system safety, and the union to talk about solutions, right? So looking at locations where assaults seem to be happening more frequently, and then working with NYPD to have resources dispatched during the periods where we're seeing that conflict arising. The other thing is looking at the instances where a public-facing employee will have that type of interaction. So there are certain locations where we see certain stations where it seems to be more frequent. We've started a couple pilots, one of which was the barrier pilot, which had some success, but we also trialed some fixed barriers at some of the stations when we were rolling out the barriers for station platforms. So we're still working to see what the right solution is, and I think a lot of work is still underway. This is not something that we can do from an office in 2 Broadway. It really does mean working with the teams in the field to find the best solutions for what we do. Anything further, Mandeep?
I'll just add that we're working with the unions in collaboration to come up with the best type of solutions for the environment and location and the times when these incidents do occur. Thank you.
Any other questions for Demetrius and the team? If not, we're going to move on to Lou. He's going to brief us on the procurement package, but we can't take a vote because we don't have a quorum. But Lou, why don't you start?
Thank you. Well, good morning. The New York City procurement package includes one action this month. This item is a request to ratify the declaration of an immediate operating need that authorized the procurement of all technology and related services necessary for continuity of paratransit service for scheduling, dispatching, automatic vehicle location monitoring, and interactive voice response system in response to an immediate operating need issued in advance of a termination for cause of a prior contractor. 4 actions comprise this item. 3 vendors will be have been awarded new contracts, which we're asking to ratify. OAS in the estimated amount of $4.8 million to provide AVLM hardware, for example, tablets in the vehicles that replace the prior contract's proprietary mobile data terminals in approximately 1,200 dedicated paratransit vehicles. Second action is to Way LLC in the estimated amount of $11.4 million to provide scheduling engine software to run in parallel with the existing Adept scheduling engine for resiliency and to optimize the existing scheduling process. And number 3, Unified Dispatch in the estimated amount of $1.1 million to provide IVR service, integrated voice response service, support and maintenance for paratransit. Additionally, the board is requested to approve 3 modifications to a contract with Corporate Transportation Group in the estimated amount of $3.3 million to develop and implement a resiliency plan to the then existing AVLM system. The total estimated price for all of these awards is $20.8 million. Each was made at various points in time since the ION was declared, and each have a base contract term of approximately 3 years without options. These systems and related technology are critical for the provision of MTA's paratransit transportation service. A competitive solicitation for the replacement of these systems is already underway. Proposals have been received and they're under evaluation. I submit this for approval.
So we can't take a vote, but does anybody have any questions for Lou? Okay, if not, we'll wait till Wednesday when the board will take action on this. Okay. Any other questions for the team? If not, can I entertain a motion to adjourn? David, second. Andrew, all those in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.